Shut up, everyone. Alright, hey guys, what's up? JRP77 here, and today we are going to be doing a live tutorial, and we are going to be making a class-based system using the Unity engine. Now, this may be similar to something you would see in something like Battlefront, or Battlefield, more like it, and Call of Duty, where you select your class and then the objects and their variables change based on what you're doing. So we're here in the official JGN Games office. I got my moderators behind me. Moderators, say hello.
Hi.
All right. And this is going to take roughly about an hour. I'm going to try to check the chat every now and then just to make sure, see any questions you guys have. If you got any questions, don't forget to drop those in the chat, and I will try to come back every now and then to make sure that I can get those answered. So first of all, there is an asset pack that we are going to be using. Now, I'm going to link it in there, and I actually forgot to do this, but it's these low poly weapons that look really nice. Now, I can't do it right now, but I will get a link in the chat very soon. It's called 30, if you go to your window, you go to Asset Store, and you type in 30 low poly weapons. Then it should come up, and it's this one by Epic Dreams. It's a great asset pack. This is the one I'm using. It's only $15, but you get 30 weapons, and they even come with skins, so you can make your own fake CSGO. It's very cool. And that's what we're going to be using. I can't link it to it, but that's what it's going to be. This is going to be our archive, and the archive is definitely going to have the link in the description below. All right, so I'm already in my scene, and you can see I've got a couple weapons. I'm going to be using the assault rifle, and then I have a shotgun, which looks dope, and then I have a heavy weapon, which also looks dope, and then I have a sniper rifle, which I accidentally just parented to the heavy weapon. There it is. And they're all parented to the main camera. That's all the setup I've done for this scene. Just a very basic scene. I've got the first person controller, but you really don't have to do that for this. You can easily put this into any script that you want. And so that's all I've done for this. I've just got a couple weapons just hooked up to the main camera on the rigid body controller. And I'm going to leave the assault rifle as the main weapon for now because, well, I personally like that one the most. And so now, first of all, we need something that can make this gun fire. So we're actually going to be writing the gun script. It's not going to shoot a real bullet, but that's what we're going to be doing first. Also, just to show what I've set up, I also have a class selection scene that I've set up where you can choose your class based on 4 buttons, and whichever button you push, that's how we're going to get which class is selected. So let's go ahead and we're going to make the gun script by right-clicking on your project window and going to create C# script. And I'm going to call this gun script. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and open this up using Visual Studio. Visual Studio is going to take a couple minutes to load just because it's slow, especially on just devices. All right, it's loading up currently. I've actually got another window for it so that it looks cool. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete everything in the script because that's how I start off all my scripts. It just helps to have a clean slate. And we're going to start out by making our variables. So the first variable I'm going to add is we need to know how much ammo we have. So I'm going to make a public int, and I'm going to call it ammo. I'm going to add a semicolon there. Now, the next thing I'm going to add is we need to know how much ammo we have in total. So I'm going to make another public int called total ammo. All right. Now, we also need to know how much ammo we have per clip so that when we reload the gun, it's going to reload to that number. It's just going to help down the road. Rather than saving a static variable, you can actually change this based on what the ammo is. So I'm going to make a public int ammo per clip. So those are the ones that we need as far as the ammo. We also need 2 more variables for the timing of this, because if the way we're setting this up, we're going to need to delay the fire rate. So that's why we're going to make a float, public float, and we're going to call it fire rate. So this is going to basically tell us how long in between each time the function runs. So it's the fire function is going to run, then it's going to wait for that amount of time that the fire rate variable is, and then it's going to run it again. And so that's just so that we can manage this and we can actually set the speed for different weapons for each one. Next, we need a public float called reload time. This is going to tell us how long it takes to actually reload the gun. We don't want it reloading instantaneously. We actually want it to just reload after a certain period of time. Now we need one more variable, and I'm not going to make it public because I don't want it popping up in our inspector. I'm going to make a bool called canFire. This is what we're going to be using to prevent the gun from firing while it's firing. So I know it's a bit confusing, but we're going to be using it to where when the gun's firing, canFire will be set to true, and then canFire will be set to false, and then as soon as it's done firing, it's going to be set back to true so that the gun can fire again. This is just with the timing, it helps with that. And an important thing is we need to set this to true in order for this to work, because Booleans are by default set to false. So let's go ahead and make our update function. This is where we're going to be talking about our input. And before I go to that, I'm going to look in the chat very quickly. All right, no questions. So I'm going to go back into here. In the update function, we need to see if the mouse button is pressed. So I'm going to say if input dot get key, I'm going to use get key, then keycode dot mouse 0. Now, you may be wondering, why am I using get key? Some of you advanced users may know that there's a get mouse button, and I personally see no difference because I've been using get key and get mouse button, and I just find it easier in case you wanted to change it, like for some reason to Q or something. It's very useful to get from there to a different key than to have to delete all the mouse button stuff and then go all the way back and create get key. That's just what I do. But you can certainly use the get mouse button function. So also, we don't want this gun, this is going to be the statement that tells us if we're firing or not. So we also don't want it to fire if we don't have any ammo. So I'm going to use two and signs, and I'm going to say if ammo is greater than or equal to 0. Now what this is going to do is this is essentially adding a second condition for it to be met. You can use the double and sign to add another one, and then you can also use two of these, I don't remember what they're called, to add or. So if those are happening and if that's happening or if that's happening, then that would work. And finally, we need to see if canFire is equal to true, so we're just going to write and canFire. All right, I'm going to open up this if statement, and inside here, I'm going to set canFire immediately to false so that it doesn't mess up and it doesn't shoot more than once. Now we're going to use a special type of function called a coroutine. So I'm going to type in start coroutine, then fire. Basically what this is this allows us to use a certain statement that will allow us to delay the next line of code. And we're going to use that for the fire rate. That's why we made the fire rate variable. So now we got that, let's go ahead and write the fire coroutine by writing I in numerator. And we're going to call it fire. It is case sensitive, so make sure you spell it right. And in this coroutine, we are going to have a few things. First of all, we want the ammo to subtract. So a quick way to do that is to say ammo minus minus, two minus signs, and that will give you this right here, and that will automatically subtract 1 from the ammo. Then we're going to use the special statement I was talking about. I'm going to say yield return new wait for seconds. Now wait for seconds basically just allows us to wait for a time. You can actually wait till an end of a frame or something like that in order to delay your statement, but I find wait for seconds to be very, very useful. I use it all the time, especially with like fire scripts and stuff like that. Now inside the parentheses, I'm going to write fire rate. I'm going to hit semicolon right there, go down a line, and then right after that, I'm going to say canFire equals to true. Because we've written it in this order, it will allow us to fire immediately after that. Now we don't want to restart the coroutine from there because that will mess up this up here and it will just fire over and over and over again. So I'm going to save this and I'm going to go back into Unity and I'm going to test this on our first gun. We need to add this to all of our objects and the variables will be changed individually. So I'm going to go ahead and add the gun script to every single object. Now, because we have nothing setting these variables yet, which is what we're going to do later, I'm just going to set ammo to 25, total ammo to 100, ammo per clip to 25, and fire rate to 0.2. So now you can't really see anything because we don't know what ammo we have left. So we have to go back into our scripting really quick, and I'm going to say debug.log ammo.toString, and I'm going to say plus to add on to this. Do quotation marks, then a space, then a dash, and then another space so that we have a nice aesthetically pleasing thing in our console. And then I'm going to add total ammo dot toString. You have to add 2 parentheses after that because you're calling a function on that integer. I'm going to hit semicolon, and I'm going to save this, and I'm going to go back into here, but I've actually got a view already set up for this so that we can see to make sure this works. So I'm going to play this. Alright, I'm going to play this. I had some error. And you guys, I know you guys can't see the console on your screen, so I actually enlarged it. And now you'll see that if I hold the mouse button down, you'll see it goes down, and then as soon as it gets to -1, I don't know why it's -1, but as soon as it gets to -1, it won't fire anymore. Well, the problem is that we can't get past -1. So let's go ahead and write our reload function. I'm going to go back into my scripting window. And in update, I'm going to say if, hold on 1 second, if ammo is equal to 0, actually, I'm going to say if ammo is less than or equal to 0, and if total ammo, I spelled total ammo wrong, is greater than 0, that will prevent our gun from reloading as soon as it's out of ammo, because we don't want that happening. I'm going to set canFire is equal to false. You know what, I'm going to set it to equal just because I forgot that I had a bug with that. I'm going to set canFire to equal to false, and I'm going to start the reload coroutine, which is what we're going to write next. I spelled reload wrong. So below our fire statement, first of all, I'm going to check the chat very quickly, and we do not have any questions as of now. If you have any questions, don't forget to leave those in the chat, and I will try to answer them as soon as possible. So now I'm going to do my second I enumerator. I'm going to say reload. Again, case sensitive. So here, I'm going to add a few things. First of all, I'm going to put the yield return new statement at the very beginning so that everything that happens after it will happen as soon as the second line. I'm going to say reload time in that parentheses. Now underneath this, we're going to write total ammo minus equals ammo per clip. This is how you subtract something from a variable, where you have to subtract more than 1. I don't know why it's minus equals. If somebody knows that, put it in the chat. That'd be much appreciated. So we're going to subtract the total ammo from the ammo per clip. And then after that, we're going to set ammo is equal to ammo per clip. Now, thankfully, math in C++ and C# is very simple, and that's all we have to do to set this up. And finally, I'm going to set canFire is equal to true. Now, we're going to jump back into Unity, and I'm going to, again, fade on the console. It's on -1 right now. I've saved the gun script, and I'm going to go to here, and now it's playing. And now, when I hold down the mouse button, you'll see that the ammo goes down considerably quickly. Okay, and that happened because, so we forgot to set the reload time, and I'm going to set it to 3. You'll notice that it just went automatically. We're going to hold down the mouse button, and when I say as soon as it gets to 0 or 1, it's going to wait a couple seconds, and then boom, it comes back up. But it shouldn't go into negative ammo there. Negative 225, you shouldn't subtract that much. And that's because what happens here is that the coroutine continues to run because it doesn't know to stop yet. And so we've added conditions on our other one to stop, but we haven't yet added conditions to actually stop the reload coroutine. So I'm going to go back into scripting, and I'm going to go into the void update, and I'm going to write if ammo is equal to ammo per clip, double equal sign, and I'm going to write stop coroutine reload. Basically what this does is this is going to stop the coroutine as soon as the ammo is reloaded. Now we could use a boolean or something like that, but I just find that using integers is very simple, especially for something as simple as this. I'm going to save this script, and I'm going to come back into Unity, and I'm going to play the scene. I'm going to compile it first, and then I'm going to put the console back on there. Now when I hold it down, you'll notice that it goes all the way down to 0, or -1 in this case. It won't matter when you're developing your game, and then it goes to 25 like that, and we're all set to go. So I'm actually going to reset the gun script component because that was just to test it. Now we actually have to set up our class system. We're about 15 minutes in, so I'm going to go back to the chat. Alright, so I'm trying to write the script and add notes to make sure what it does. It's really hard. Yes, I'm very, very sorry because I could not find a way to scale up my text in Visual Studio before the stream, so I'm doing it this small. I apologize extremely if it's on mobile because it's very, very hard to read Visual Studio on an iPhone. Hopefully the stream will become a video later on. Yes, the video will become an archive as soon as this stream ends, and you guys will actually be able to go back and watch to see what you missed. Alright, so I'm going to go back to my notes real quick. So far, so good. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to be writing the class selection script. Now basically what we're going to be doing is making it to where whenever we select something, it actually, well, transmits the class from this scene into this scene right here. So I'm going to open up this, and you'll notice I have 4 buttons. Well, thankfully with the new Unity 5 UI, we get this nice thing called onClick, and that's what we're actually going to be using to check input for this. So I'm going to create a new script, and I'm going to call it class select. It's a very simple script, but it's very useful for this. And before we do this, we actually need to have an object in here so that it doesn't just run off a canvas or a button. That's the way I like to do it, but you could probably do it in a different way. And I'm going to rename this object _GM for Game Manager. This is just a nice object to have to where you can put your scripts like a class selection script where it's passing variables in. And for the buttons, we actually need it to be on this object. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the class selection script. I apologize, I accidentally left the console on. And I have to reload. And I'm going to go back into here. And I'm going to delete everything like I did in the last one. Now before we do this, Unity 5, or one of the latest versions of Unity, actually changed the way that we load levels. And so we need to add in a new statement so that we can use it. It went from the application class into a new class called scene management, but it's not in the, well, Unity's doing it weird to where you actually have to like reference it in the script. So I'm going to say using Unity Engine .scene management. And that will allow us to switch between scenes using the apparently faster method that Unity has provided. So in here, we only need to have 3 lines, well, 2 lines really, but I like to add the second line because it really helps when just testing your code. I'm going to say, I'm going to create a public void, public void, I'm going to call it select class. And in the parentheses, I'm going to write string class name. Now we're making it a public void so that the buttons can actually see this function, and whenever you click the button, it will actually run it. So in here, we're going to actually be using the player prefs to store the data so that whenever we run this, it just runs through the data, and it's not that big of it shouldn't hurt your computer because of it. It's just a way to save information. So we're going to use player press dot set string, and I'm going to set I'm going to call this string P class. You'll see that there's a key that you have to set and then the value after that. And I'm going to hit comma, and I'm going to type in class name. Now this is basically going to take whatever is put here, it's going to save it to our computer in here, and then we'll be able to access it from any script in the game, which is really nice. And that's the reason I'm using player press for this, so that I don't have to reference this script all the time. Now I'm going to add this debug statement because I want to make sure that the class is actually being saved. So I'm going to say saved string, do like this, and then I'm going to add on class name, like so. And this is just going to put it in the console. You won't be able to see it down here, but I'll try to highlight it on the screen, where it will actually say save string, and it'll say whatever we put in the text. And finally, we need to load up the next level, so I'm going to say scene manager dot load scene, and I'm going to say main because that's the name of my scene. So I'm going to go back into Unity, then compile the script. It should work. And now for this to work, you're going to have to go to File, Build Settings, and do it in this order. Or you don't have to do it in this order, but for this to work in your game, you want the class selection to come up first, and then main to come up after that. So now that we have that done, we are going to put this class select script onto the game manager. And I've already had it on there, my bad. And then on the buttons, we're going to go to the on click at the very bottom. I'm going to go add, and then we're going to select the game manager object. Now in function, I'm going to set it to class select, and you'll see select class right here. And you'll notice we get a text box to type stuff in. So because I know that the first one is the assault button, I'm going to type in assault. I'm going to make it uppercase because I like being neat. So then I'm going to add this for all of them. I could have just done this and duplicated it, but I already made the buttons, and so this just makes it as easy as it can be. I'm going to do this for all of them, and then I will check the chat very soon for questions. Select class heavy, and then last one underscore GM select class sniper. All right, great. So I'm going to make sure that I did the select class for all of them, and I did. Now I'm going to check the chat very quickly. Okay, so hey, is Blender Game Engine still good? Because I can't make good textures on Unity. Alright, so Blender is still a game engine, but it's not the best for making games, in my opinion. If you're going to make textures, I would suggest using Photoshop or GIMP or something like that. And so basically, I would use Photoshop, or I would use a website like 3dtextures.com or whatever, like freetextures2016.ru or something like that to find all the textures. But I would not try to make good textures in there. But I think, now that I'm thinking about it, I think you're talking about materials. And materials, it's just kind of it's one of those things that you just kind of got to pick up on. So, like, I'm not the best at it by far, but I know there's a ton of tutorials on how to make really good tutorials on YouTube, and I'll try to find some of those and link you to some of those. Phoenix ordered you all was pretty set up, so I'm trying to catch up. Yeah, it's true. You don't have to do it like this. You don't have to add the buttons. I had it pretty set up, but you could honestly just have a Boolean or something like that. So like, is assault class, is support class. I'm doing it like this because this is the way that I will set it up. So yeah, so just go ahead, take some time, set up the class selection. I guarantee you, it's actually got, it should have the DVR thing on there. And so you should be able to go backwards and pause it and then go backwards and see like what I'm doing, because it should be on the DVR thing. All right, so I'm going to go back to my notes real quick. I don't think there's any more questions. All right, you're welcome, Scorpion. And so I'm going to go back to my notes, and now I'm going to play this. And when I click the assault, you'll notice it jumps in here, but if I go to the console, you'll see that save string assault is right here. So I'm going to play it one more time, but I'm going to click the support button, and you'll notice that string support was set up right there. Perfect. So now that we have that done, let's just answer some questions. We're going to actually do the thing that sets the class up. And this is one of the most complex, well, not really complex, just a lengthy script that we're going to have to do. So I've divided it up into 3 parts just to make sure that this works perfectly. And yeah. So first of all, I'm going to create a new script called class changer. All right. So now that I've got that set up, I'm going to create an empty game object. And I'm going to call it _GM again. And I'm going to drag the class changer script onto there. And I'm going to open it up in Visual Studio. All right, so I'm going to go back to my class changing window. And I'm going to delete everything as usual. We don't need to add anything like we did in the last one. And so all we need to do here for now is create a void start. This is the function that's going to actually run as soon as we start the game. So as soon as the scene loads up, the first thing that's going to happen is this. So we're going to make a string inside of this function called curClass. That's just short for current class. And then we're going to set it equal to playerpress.getString p_class. Now the reason I'm doing it, that's why I use playerpress, is because that's the only line of code I need. I don't have to reference the class select script at all. I can just use playerpress and get that straight from there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create a new statement called a switch. Now a switch is basically a really complex if statement. So it's a simpler way to use if statements. You could do like if curClass is equal to assault or whatever, but I find that switches are much better for setting up a ton of options like this. So I'm going to write switch curClass. All right, so in here, the first case that we need, you don't have to make it your first one, but I'm going to make it my first one because, well, it makes it easier. I'm going to write default and then a colon. I'm going to go down a line, and I'm going to say debug.log no class selected. So basically what this is going to do is if none of these options are available, this case is going to run. It's a very useful thing. It's almost like if you're adding an else statement into it. And it's very good, especially if you don't want people like hacking your game and stuff and they change their class and you can't select it, then no class can be selected and then it won't let them. You could put something in here that would prevent them from actually even joining the game. So now I'm going to make my cases from here. I'm going to make the first case. I'm going to say case assault. And then down here, I'm going to write break right underneath it. Then I'm going to write case support. Break right underneath that. I'm going to write case heavy, forgot to put in quotations, break. And then finally, case sniper and break. All right, so basically there's nothing in there, so it's going to give you an error. Actually, it's because there's no colon there. My bad. And so now that we've got our cases set up, we are going to test the default case by going back into our case selection or class selection. So now I've got this. I've got the script on there, I believe. Yes. I'm going to save this screen. I'm going to go to class selection. And on the first button, I'm going to set it to medic. So that's not one of those options right there. I'm going to save this scene, and then when I play it and I click the assault button, you should see that in the console, no class selected is right there. I know it's kind of hard for you guys to read this on mobile because, well, the text is so small, but I guarantee you it does say no class selected. So I'm going to look at questions real quick. It doesn't look like there's anything in the chat. All right, so far so good. Don't forget to put your questions in the chat if you have any. All right, so we've done that, but the first thing I actually want to do is I want to have, oh shoot, I forgot to show you guys. Sorry, I have two scenes set up, but you'll see that no class selected right there. I forgot to have it on my main one. I get confused, my bad. And you'll see that no class selected is right there. Perfect. So now I'm going to go back, and the first thing I wanted to do is I want to change this model. So if it's assault, I want the assault rifle to be selected. If it's support, I want the shotgun to be selected, etc. So I'm going to go into my class changer script, and I'm going to create four variables outside of it. I'm going to create 4 public game objects so that we can set these in our thing. And I'm going to name one of them assault. I'm going to make another one. I'm going to call it support. I'm going to make another one. I'm going to call it heavy. I'm going to make one more. And I'm going to call it sniper. All right. Now in here, that's actually the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set each one to active. So because I'm really concerned with like the security of the game and actually working every single time and there not being any bugs, I'm going to set every single one that's not the right one to false just to make sure that they don't turn on over each other. So I'm going to say assault.setActive is equal to true. And I'm going to say support.setActive is equal to false. I'm going to set heavy.setActive to false. And I'm going to set sniper.setActive to false. Now you don't need to have that many. You could honestly just have assault.setActive or whatever. But I like it like this because this allows me to make sure that whenever if we put in a function where he was supposed to actually save the class right there, then it would actually have it. So that's why I'm keeping that right there. So I'm going to copy this 4 times and put it inside of each of my cases. And I'm going to change the variables so that it works for each one, and then it doesn't just set the assault class weapon to that. So I'm going to set it to true, and then the rest to false. I'm going to change this one to false, and I'm going to set this one to true. And then finally the sniper, I'm going to set this one to false. And I'm going to set this one, the bottom one, to true. Alright, so I'm pretty sure I have all of those. I'm going to go back into Unity and I'm going to assign these on the game manager. So I'm going to go to my rigid body controller. I know that the assault weapon is the first one. I know that the support one is the second one. Third, like that. Fourth, like that. And these don't have to be the actual weapons. I'm just using these because 1, it looks so much cooler, and 2, it just gives a visual representation, whereas like a cube versus a sphere versus a cylinder versus a capsule. That's why I'm doing that. So now I've got that, I'm going to save this scene, and I'm going to go back to the class selection script, and I'm going to make sure that I change the button. Aha, I forgot to change that. Glad I caught that. Alright. So now, when we save this and play the scene, and I click assault, the assault weapon pops up blue, but that was the default one. I'm going to play the scene again, and I'm going to hit support, and the shotgun pops up. And then I'm going to hit the heavy, and I got the heavy gun right here. And finally, the sniper. Click that, and I got the sniper rifle. Great. So we're through the weapons, but I want to change all the variables on the gun script itself. And so that's what we're going to be doing next. We're actually going to be changing every single variable for as far as ammo and total ammo and fire rate, etc. We're changing all of that using this next part of the script. So I'm going to go back into scripting, and I'm going to add a private gun script variable. Now I'm doing it private just because I don't want it popping up in my inspector, and I'm going to call it just gun script, like this. Now I'm making this so that I can reference the gun script that we put on the object itself. So now on assault, I'm going to set gun script is equal to assault dot get component gun script, like so. And I'm going to copy and paste this and just change the variable for each one, because copy and paste is always your friend. Well, unless you copy and paste nuclear codes. That's not good. So copy that, and then change that to support. And then I'm going to paste it in right here. I'm going to write heavy, and then I'm going to paste it in right here. And I'm going to write sniper. All right, so real quick, I'm going to check the chat. All right, next video should be a character customization for clothes. I agree, that's the one I probably will end up doing next. I will save that idea in my very bad short-term memory, but I'm going to write that down. All right, so looks like there's nothing else in the chat, so I am going to go back into my notes real quick. So far, we are doing very good. So now we're going to go ahead and we are going to set all the variables. And this part takes a bit of time, but the first one, again, we're just going to copy and paste because, like I said, copy and paste is your friend. And we're just going to copy and paste this because it's the same lines of code, just with different switches. So I'm going to say gun script, and I'm going to reference the ammo variable by writing .ammo. I'm going to do an equal sign and put 25. Then for ammo per clip, I'm actually going to set it equal to my gun script ammo variable. And I'm going to do it afterwards so that it doesn't set it to 0 at first. Then I'm going to set gun script dot total ammo is equal to 100, and then gun script dot fire rate is equal to 0.2f, and I'm doing that because it's a float variable. And then, oh, I forgot to add a semicolon. And then I'm going to write gun script dot reload time is equal to 3f, like that. Now I'm going to copy and paste this, these couple lines into every case. I'm just going to go ahead and do that right now. Now, for the support one, I don't want him to have that much ammo in his clip, so I'm going to give him 7 bullets. And then for total ammo, I'm going to give him 28 total. Then for the fire rate, I'm going to set it to 1.25 because I'm kind of treating it like an auto shotgun, so that feels pretty good as far as how fast it's firing. And then for the reload time, I'm going to set it to 5 because, well, you got to put all the shells in. I'm trying to do this realistically, but I don't know. Then for the ammo on the heavy, this one's fun. I'm going to set it to 150, but then I'm also going to give him 150 total ammo. I'm going to set the fire rate to 0.05f, and then I'm going to set the reload time to 7f. Save that right now so I don't lose anything if my Visual Studio just decides to crash. And then for sniper, I'm going to set it to 5 for ammo. Total ammo equal to 20. Fire rate to 2. And reload time to 4. Alright, so we have successfully finished scripting our entire, well, all we need to script for this video. So I'm going to come back in here. And now that we have this, I'm going to play the scene. I'm going to click yes. Actually, I need to fade on this. And I'm going to fade on the console real quick. Now with the assault, you'll see that 25 and 100 comes up. And when I hold it down, it starts firing. And as soon as it gets to 0, it won't let me fire anymore. And then as soon as I get there, it reloads. Alright, I'm going to try this again with the support class. Now I've got 7 and 28, and if I just hold the mouse button down, you'll see that it goes all the way down to 0. And then it waits a couple seconds as it puts the shells back in. And then we're back up. Now for the heavy, this one is where we're going to test to make sure that it doesn't reload after 0 total ammo. I'm going to start firing, spraying down all the nothingness due to my laziness. Down to 50, 30, and now we're all the way down. It's going to take a couple seconds to reload. And then we're back here. I'm going to go all the way down because I want to make sure that it doesn't reload once we hit 0. And I believe I set it to 7. And I believe it has been 7 seconds and it has not reloaded. So yay, that works. And then finally, just to test, I'm going to test the sniper. I'm going to hold the mouse button down, and you'll see it fires pretty well. Treating it like it's a bolt action, it's not like an auto shotgun or auto sniper or anything. It gets down to 0, it takes 4 seconds to reload, and we're back up. Alright, so that concludes this live stream on making a class selection script using Unity. That was a very basic use of player press and switches and using stuff from other scripts. So I'm going to check the chat very quickly, see if there's questions. Alright, so how many games have you made so far? I have actually made 0 games, which is quite sad. I have gotten on a bunch of rabbit trails for actually, well, we actually started making a game a couple of years ago, back in 2012. And then that project kind of died out, and so that's what happened there. Can you make the weapons attachments for the next vid? I don't know. I think I really like that idea of the character customization and the weapons attachment. Both of those are really good ideas. I'll probably put that in. Phoenix Order, I'm very sorry that I go very fast. It's my first live stream, so I talk very, very, very fast. Scorpion says, where's the animation in the head? Oh, so realistic. Yes, I'm very lazy and I decided not to do any animations. Though that would have been very cool. And Ellis Wynn says, it's good enough for the tutorial. Thank you, man. So, yeah, that basically concludes this tutorial. This video will be on archive if you guys want to watch it. You guys will be able to scroll back. You can actually scroll back right now and go all the way back to the beginning of the video because I should have that on. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I will definitely put a link to the weapons pack in the description of the archive, and I will also put a link to the project in there with no scripts or anything so that you don't have to scroll through and see everything I'm doing, because I actually did talk very fast in that tutorial. So thanks for watching, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If this video sucked, or this live stream tutorial I guess sucked, don't forget to dislike this video, but if it didn't, drop a like and maybe subscribe so that you don't miss many of my scripted tutorials. So it seems like from the chat that people really like this tutorial, Thank you guys so much. Don't forget to check out our website, our social media, and our t-shirts. All those are in the description below. You can go check out those links. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.